I was a big fan of Janine Parvati Baker when she was alive. She had the first PhD in perinatal psychology, and Janine was half Jewish and half original First Nations Native American people. So she had this beautiful heritage, and she was an incredible mother, an incredible author, a beautiful midwife, and a keeper of birth. And she always said to me and to all of us who care about childbirth, she said, peace on earth begins with birth. And I carry her torch and believing that peace on earth begins with birth. For my early life, I really didn't imagine that I would be a midwife. Definitely my inspiration has been my Filipino grandmother, Vicenta, my daughter, Deja, and my midwives. They really guided me. My Filipino grandmother was a hilot, which means healer and midwife, and she took me with her a lot to be with the people in all kinds of ways as a healer and as a midwife. And then I became a mother when I was a teenager, which was an amazing experience for me. I know a lot of people think that if you become a teenage mother, your life will be over, but my life really began, and my daughter, Deja, is like my best friend and my teacher. I feel like she really inspired me, and that experience, because I had beautiful midwives who were so kind and loving, and I was a poor teenager. I didn't have money for hospital or insurance or any of those technologies. I just had these beautiful midwives who helped me with love. We have 8 children, only 8. I gave birth to 5 of them, and then my husband's first wife, she passed away, and then her children, who I was close to even before, became like my children. Then my husband and I made one more, my son Hanuman, and then we adopted Eliana. So I got children in every imaginable way. Some I gave birth to, 5 of them, and some I got for free. My sister, Christine Yaley Kim, she died in Alabama, United States of America, with insurance. She was 32 years old, so she was in the prime of her life, having her 3rd baby. She was in the care of an OBGYN. She went to see him because she said, look, I have blurry vision. My hands and my face are swollen. I have headaches. She obviously had signs of eclampsia. And if that doctor had cared, he would have immediately put her in the hospital because science could have saved her. But she was Asian Pacific Island, half-breed woman, married to a Korean man in the state of Alabama where they're very racist and where women don't have a voice. My sister just had a simple request. Please pay attention to my physical condition. I feel that I'm not healthy. I feel that this is dangerous. And she was told, everything's fine, don't whine about it, you're just having your 3rd baby, pretty soon everything's gonna be fine. And not only did my sister die, my niece died. I could have taken my shock, my anger, because her death was preventable. I could have taken that and just spent my life being angry. But instead, I put all the love from my brilliant, beautiful sister into my heart, and I carried it forward in my work. And I made a commitment that nobody's sister, that nobody's child should die a preventable death if there was anything we could do, which is why we have to work with science, we have to work with nature, and then we have to work with spirit. The maternal mortality rate has been climbing up in the USA since 1986, even though they spend the most money on technology and childbirth of any other country. I'm a bit of a science nerd, so I'm always looking at data. I have to conclude that the United States isn't really doing an effective method of caring for mothers and babies and children in pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum. and breastfeeding support. Their methods are not effective, so technology is not the answer. So what I found was the way of my grandmother, the Hilot, Vicenta Munar Lim, doing natural childbirth, sitting on the floor in people's shacks, rubbing women's backs, practicing with love. This was the outcome that was making the better statistics. So we really started to take this to the next level, and practicing with love really became not only our motto and our lifestyle, but we started to teach it all over Indonesia and the Philippines and now the world. Babies at birth in hospitals all over the world, their umbilical cords are cut immediately and they're taken away where they can measure them and weigh them and put drops in their eyes and put a thermometer in their anus to take their temperature and separate them from their mother. When all a baby needs at birth is to be in the arms of the mother, because the first embrace of life is so important. All of these medical protocols that were invented with good intention to try to save infant lives were doing the opposite. And they were causing traumas that were so profound that people on earth were spending 20, 30, 40 years or more just healing the trauma from their birth, of being separated from the first embrace of their mother, from the love of their father. And families were being broken. Because when you do something that's cruel and abusive to a woman in labor, separating her from her family, making her lay on this table that looks exactly like a torture table, it is a torture table, putting her feet in stirrups. If you do this to a dog, if you put a dog in stirrups when she's trying to give birth, no one will accept that as normal. How can we help each other as medical professionals? How can the midwives who know that a mother should be free to give birth squatting on the floor, laying on her side, in the garden, wherever and however she wants to, within the parameters of safety, with the help of a skilled midwife? She should have a doula who's trained to care for her in a non-medical way, just loving her and giving her comfort the whole time. And her baby should never be separated from her. And the baby's umbilical cord must be left intact for a long time. And I'm not talking about 1 minute or 3 minutes. I'm talking about hours, so that the baby can go into the mother's arms, be supported to breastfeed. Breastfeeding is something so special. It's like making love. If you're making love with someone for the first time, you don't want your prelude to making love to be someone cutting your umbilical cord, taking you away, measuring you, weighing you, checking your temperature, doing all these things with bright lights and loud sounds, and you're so sensitive because you've just arrived on the earth. Lovemaking and bonding are the same, and they need to be protected in the same way, with privacy, with low lights, with soft voices, with no pain, with no separation. And in this way, we can do the best for our newborn babies and protect the most vulnerable citizens of our earth. And when we protect the most vulnerable citizens of our earth, the research proves that they then can live their optimal life from the very beginning, from the get-go, because they don't have trauma. And without trauma, you can begin to live your optimal life. My goodness, can you imagine the world? These people that have no trauma, these beautiful newborn babies, are now growing up. And I'm now receiving into the world the babies of my babies. And I see how they are in the villages. I see how they are in the cities and in their towns and in their societies and their communities. They are gentle. They are peaceful. They only want to make peace. And they're all advocates for the Earth Mother. So how do we save a planet which is facing an extinction process of greed and environmental destruction and all of these terrible things happening on the earth, wars? How do we change that? I feel like the midwives, the doulas, the birth keepers, the doctors who are working in beautiful collaboration with us, the pediatricians, the OBGYNs, the hospital administrators, All of us together are making such an impact because we're saving newborn babies and children from trauma. And when we do that, when we protect human beings from trauma at birth, we are making it so that their life is set up to save our world.